Today's guest is Ron Alford, a record-breaking business coach, ultra-endurance athlete, and one of the most respected voices in performance, belief, and personal transformation. Ron is back with a revised and updated edition of his best-selling book, Redefining Possible, a practical and deeply grounded roadmap for anyone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or quietly playing smaller than they know they're capable of. Through decades of coaching leaders and executives, Ron has helped thousands sharpen their focus, take ownership of their past, present, and future, and build real confidence. Not hype, not motivation, but confidence rooted in action, clarity, and belief. If you've ever asked yourself, is this really all I'm capable of? This episode is for you. Enjoy. Ron, welcome to the podcast, man. We're recording. We're ready to go. So before we get to the titles and the coaching and all that jazz, I think I want to know, and I'm sure our listeners want to know, who were you early on and like what really shaped how you see work and coaching and success today?
Yeah, man. Well, Chris, thank you for having me. I'm excited to get to dig in with you. I honestly was lost when you say early on. My perception of that goes back to high school. Both big brothers went off into the Marine Corps. They were like my dad, military man, and just seemed like they had so much purpose. They knew what they were going to do, and I felt so. I don't have a vision. I don't have a plan. I don't have a path. I don't have, and just felt lost. And so that led to me doing an internship with Southwestern 33 years ago now. And I feel like that 12-week internship is a lot of where I started to find myself and get true mentorship, like people that were pouring into me, people that really helped shape my belief system a little tighter. So that's really, in hindsight, led to who I am now today.
What do you think it was about what they were able to do? Because I think you hit on a couple of really important things there, and kind of like a little bell just went off when you said purpose. Because I was watching a podcast with David Goggins and Christopher, I forget his name. But anyway, but Goggins was talking about that, how we're all lost if we don't have purpose. And what was it that, you also mentioned that they poured into you.
Yep.
What was that thing that happened as a young man?
Yeah, I love the question. I think it was a selflessness that I had never experienced, and to me, it really helped me understand that I just think a lot of times we chase trophies or good grades or academic success, obviously bank accounts, more material things, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. And not but they really helped open my eyes that real wealth is impact. It's the lives you change. It's the lives you touch. It's slowing down and investing in a relationship. It's investing in another human without needing reciprocity. And that was just interesting thinking back to those early summers with Southwestern, where I had a few key leaders that it was like I'd never really had someone just slow down and ask about, man, what makes you tick? What makes you think that way? What drives you? Like, oh, cool, you want to make this much money. Oh, cool, you want to win that trip. Well, tell me more. Why is that important to you? And they went layers deep. And I feel like I was a surface level human at that point, and they helped me understand what depth meant.
Love that, man. I feel like that takes a lot of years for many people to learn or be exposed to, and sounds like you're pretty lucky to get it at a young age. How did you discover them, or did they discover you?
They found me. A buddy of mine that I knew growing up, from middle school and high school, recommended me to do this crazy summer job because they said that, man, selling educational books door to door, straight commission, find your own host family to live with. You don't know what part of the nation they're going to send you. Who the heck's crazy enough to do something like this? This guy, Ron Alford, give him a shot. And
You're like, ooh, yeah, I could do that.
I'm that
So,
unique and weird enough. And what you just said, though, I do want to comment, Chris, on what you said. You're right. That's where I feel I still get chills, like such appreciation that I got a bit of a microwave version of things at a young age, man, 18, 19, 20, those first few summers that a lot of people aren't learning until their 30s and 40s and 50s and beyond.
dude, I'm just figuring it out now, to be honest with you. And it's like there's a pang of almost jealousy. I'm like, oh, purpose at that age. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned that your brothers are in the military. Because I do think that military can do that for young people. It's like, okay, this is your purpose in life, but I think knowing that there are other options around there can be really powerful as well. At what point? I mean, obviously, you've been there. That's a career, man. Like you've been there, right? At what point did you realize that maybe you were wired a little bit differently than others around you, and you're like, hey, I'm in this. Like this is for me.
Yeah. My second summer, so 1995, 94 was my first, at that time I was 20. My first summer I went out and I just worked hard, but I was kind of embarrassed. I felt kind of like it's a 12-week. I have a friend that says what Southwestern does is it cuts you open and reveals everything about you, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so I was embarrassed, honestly, by a few things my first summer, how I treated people conditionally, people that bought from me, people that didn't, my work ethic, my discipline, my willpower, my mood, my energy it was incredibly humbling for a
Yeah.
19-year-old kind of arrogant, cocky kid that it ripped me apart. And so I never wanted to do it again. I was done. Made about 12 or 13 grand that first summer, bought a truck, was like, check, I'm
Dude, that's a
done.
lot of money. Holy cow.
Especially 30 something years ago for a small town kid but I hated it. It was terrible. And I hated myself with it. And then finally through the school year, I realized I need to go back and do another summer because that's where I can work on some of those gaps, some of those things about me I don't appreciate. And I ended up recruiting 5 friends to bring with me. So I came back for a second summer, then learned how to lead them. You're trying to lead your own emotions and ignorance, but then you're also learning how to lead these other people you brought because you're their leader. And
Yeah.
that second summer, man, was pivotal as to who I am have become.
Wow. So there's something that you mentioned there that I want to unpack a little bit more. But first, I want to ask you to define exactly what Southwestern Consulting does for our listeners. I really want you to unpack the conditional treatment of people that were buying from you or not buying from you. I think that that's a really fascinating place to go. Go for it.
Okay, I love it. I'll hit both. The first one, I'll give you a short version first. You tell me if you want me to go deeper. So Southwestern is a family of companies, 170 something years old, out of Nashville, started before the Civil War. Back in the day, it was just the college kids that sold books. 2,000 or 3,000 students from around the world every summer sell books door to door. Usually it's an internship through university, but over the last 20, 30 years, it's turned into a family of companies where sometimes people that have sold one summer or 5 summers or how many ever summers they sold books, they'll then leverage that experience to take with them into being a financial advisor or a commercial real estate guy or a small business owner or whatever. And so a lot of times these alumni were leaving to go into, Edward Jones or Keller Williams, some other company. And our CEO has kind of turned it into where we now have Southwestern Investments, Southwestern Real Estate, Southwestern Consulting. So a lot of us started by selling books back in the day, but we've shifted into the different part of Southwestern, which is where I'm at now, Southwestern Consulting. So that's where we do more of the one-on-one coaching, the consulting, the training, sales companies and leadership companies, and all that. And to segue and kind of answer the second part of your question, dude, that's what is fascinating to me now. I'm in my 50s. I now work with any and all industries as far as training and coaching and kind of taking sales teams and leadership teams to another level. And what you said is that this is true across the board. My flight attendant on my flight is nice to me, so I'm nice to her. Or someone's kind of rude to me, so it sparks me. I'm a mirror to other humans.
Yeah.
When it's sunny and everybody's smiling and stocks are up, I'm a conditional human. And man, it's something I've really worked hard on is how do I get more unconditional where I'm not affected by the mood or the energy around me? And that first summer taught me that. Someone would invite me in. Oh, wow, you're from the Northwest. You're selling books. How's it going for you? Oh, we're best friends. They buy stuff. We leave, we hug. I mean, literally, you connect like on another level. And then an hour later, someone opens the door. What are you doing on my porch? Why don't you get a real job? and I would have some sarcastic response, I'm embarrassed to say, and it would really affect my energy. And I hated how influenced I was or controlled I was by these other people. They took my control away from me, and it was something I knew I had to work on as a young man.
Wow. What a beautiful lesson for you to learn. I mean, was that on your own, or were you being mirrored by a mentor who was kind of like, "Hey, Ron, you got to pump the brakes a little. We all get rejected. We're doing door to door sales." You're mentioning you're a Northwestern kid. In our first conversation, we talked about how you were selling in the tri-state area
Yep.
around me. And I
Yep.
was like, I might have taken a swing at you if you came to my front door. So I'm sure you were
Mr.
dealing
Bessie, I
with all
remember
the
you, man. You were that
I
dad.
was gonna say, you're dealing with all the little Napoleonic complex Italian guys. They're like, get off my porch.
And you're in a mood. Maybe you're right in the middle of something. So it's nothing personal, but you open the door. What do you need? What do you want? Get to the point. And I would take it so personal. And so to answer your question, it was both. It was a lot of time alone where I was able to reflect. I'm a spiritual guy. Like, it was just like kind of reflect and audit my behaviors, where I was self-learning. And I was fortunate where I had some good mentorship and people that would come shadow me, or I would go shadow another person and watch and listen and learn. And that's where, one of Southwestern's mantras is we just talked incessantly about coachability. What's your teachability index in life? How coachable is a person? Because if you're resisting help or support, good luck, man. If your ego is, and so I learned that at an early age, like, I got to be humble or else I'm going to fall on my face.
Love that, because it's something I try to instill in my teenage daughters, and I'm sure you have kids, and that's something that you I'm sure bring up. Is that has the learning that you had back then become indoctrinated into Southwestern? Like, have you been able to kind of like loop that into vision, values, mission, process within the organization?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how our consulting and coaching and training company started. Is like, man, if we can bring these skills, these principles to the real world, there's a lot lacking. These people know, most people are product experts, roofers, medical device people that sell pest control or financial advising or real estate or mortgage or whatever. Anybody that sells anything, of course they understand the basics of a cycle of a sale and you know product knowledge and all that, but a lot of times the culture is missing, which affects retention, it affects morale, it affects complacency, it affects all that. And so that's where there's been really a boom. We have 170 coaches now in 19 countries, because you realize it doesn't matter if it's Eastern Europe or Canada or Brazil or New Hampshire or Portland, Oregon, or where people need accountability, but they need skills and they need to be fed without sometimes some outside support.
No, it's interesting too, because you're not the first executive coach consultant I've had on the podcast. And it all just kind of like, there's all sorts of noise, and then it all just lands on what we're talking about. It lands on like accountability, looking inward, uh, character, control. And I wonder if, like, I'd like to, I work in marketing consulting, and we do AI consulting. And I think as technology advances, this, like, the human element is becoming more and more important. And I think people are like, oh, the human element's going away. And I'm like, I prefer to look at it the other way. And I'm like, I think when it comes to the one-on-one and having a coach or having a consultant within an organization to help reveal the heart of that organization, the soul of that organization, that's the differentiating factor that will help them win, I think.
Yeah, love
Is
that.
that what you're saying? Is like you
It
seeing that,
is.
like you see people like latching onto it?
You do. Again, it always varies. Some people resist it and don't really grasp, like, what, almost like, why would I want a marriage counselor or like,
Right,
My
right,
wife
right.
and I, there's been seasons where we're doing so well and we want to go see a marriage counselor or go to a marriage retreat. Then not because something's broken, but because why would we not want to get better for each other? Like we have
I love
one
that.
shot at this dang thing, man. This is one life. This isn't a practice life. This is the one shot we have. I want to be the best husband I could ever be for her. And I mess it up. I fall on my face. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best with my fitness. So we're on a mission to partner with people that have this incessant belief that life is growth, man. I mean, we all know the old adage, if I'm not growing, I'm dying.
Yeah.
So when you believe that, you crave outside feedback. You crave, the healthy accountability, not the guilt crap, but people that hold your feet to the fire, that love on you, that encourage you, but also sometimes creative ideas on how to grow our company the right way. And a side note, all of our coaches have coaches. We're no different. Like I have blind spots. I need accountability. I need someone outside of my CEO and my direct that's kind of pushing me and helping me think differently and challenge my beliefs. And that helps me be better.
Love that. And again, it's a pattern that I'm seeing with, the elite level coaches like yourself. This is what comes up. So you're that young kid, you're at the door, you get rejected. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening that are in sales, or maybe even not, like just trying to sell something internally, right? I have an idea, I want to go to my boss, and the boss says no. W- Is there a process that you guys put forth? And I have no idea whether you have this or not. I'm not teeing it up for any sort of Southwest Consulting trick, but I am curious just for my own information. How do you coach human beings to create that space to say, don't react, it's not personal? Because that's like the hardest human thing, right? You immediately go to fight or flight. Somebody says, get off my porch. You want to like, do,
Respond.
like, how, what's the Ron process of, and I know you're faith-based man. And is that some place you go before you even get to the door? Like, give me strength to be at peace and be centered and be cool
You
when
got it.
this whole thing unfolds. Is that what happens? Yeah.
Love that you went there, Chris, because that's exactly our whole belief is everything's proactive. When I react, I lose. And shame on me. If I didn't start today visualizing how today was going to go, what type of obstacles might hit, what type of, um, you know, just and how I would respond and pray through each part of the day, maybe visualize my coaching calls or, this podcast or how I was going to, okay, at lunch, I have that 15 minutes to kind of get outside, get some fresh air, fill my cup. I'll come back, feeling renewed. So the mornings where I believe humans rush into the day and start responding to email and calls and this and that, we're already 10 steps behind. I'm going to be more irritable. I'm going to judge others more. I'm going to critique and be critical. I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to have doubt. I'm going to compare more, all the crap.
Yeah.
And the days when I get up a little earlier, for me, time with my dog, it sounds crazy. He's right here, like yours. I saw
He wanted to play. He
he was
came in over
behind
here
you.
earlier. He's like, all right, you don't want to play. I'm going to take a nap.
See Maya?
It's so good.
I got to show the visual.
It's so good.
It's a little mix. I'm in my 50s and I love to do the ultra running. And so a little bit of morning stretching and things where I'm just with my dog in silence and it's slightly meditative, slightly prayer, slightly just kind of just a little, 15, 20 minutes. Then to get outside for some movement. I think movement is medicine, whether it's weights or fresh air or a run or a hike or something. All that to say, if the day begins the right way, boy, I'm so much less susceptible to life's arrows, bullets, things that are going to be coming at me.
Yeah. I love that. And it's funny. It's like, it sounds so simple, but for a lot of people, it's difficult to kind of wrap their heads around that being good. They're like, that sounds like it hurts running and getting outside. It's like, oh, just try it once. And it's like when you, all of a sudden you feel those endorphins firing, endorphins going, synapses firing. You're like, okay, now I get it. Now I
Yep.
get it.
Oh, and you're a different man without it, right? When you're missing out on movement, fresh air, etc.
So I'm going to go way off script here because I'm intrigued by the language that you just used around that. You just said ultra running or ultra marathon. Talk, like, are you running like those crazy sort of billion-mile things? Like, and if so, how did you get into that? And I really have no idea whether you're doing that stuff or not. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I do. It was crazy. You know, I think like a lot of your listeners, I'm sure they played sports in school, and then suddenly you're in your 20s, and it's like, oh man, I don't have the football, the baseball, the basketball, so I'll never forget. I was in my mid 20s. I signed up to do a triathlon, and I'd never biked. I mean, I'd only swam leisurely in a lake. But to do this triathlon, we needed to raise money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, LLS, which we can talk about later if you want.
Yeah.
Long story short, it was my first experience around. So we went to Kona, Hawaii. This group of people raised money, did a little training together, flew from Seattle to Kona. And man, I fell in love with the running. The biking was cool. The swimming was fine. But the running was like, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
And, so I got into the whole normal, half marathons, marathon stuff. And I remember I did a marathon in Eugene, Oregon, kind of the epicenter, where the Olympic trials happen and all this stuff at the University of Oregon. And where Steve Prefontaine trained, and just a lot of
big running legacy there, man. Yeah.
That's where Nike started, Nike, yeah. I mean, and I'll never forget, that was my fifth marathon. And I remember finishing, you go through the streets of Eugene, 26.2 miles. The last part of it, you run a quarter mile around the track, the Autzen Stadium, University of Oregon, where the Olympic trials are at. And I remember looking at my watch. I was like 30 seconds off of my goal.
Wow.
And I was pissed. I was a miserable, selfish little punk. and it's such an ugly memory, because I had friends and family that came. They were there to cheer and just give me a hug at the end. And I remember feeling so, it's emotional actually thinking about it. I remember just feeling how ridiculous that I was so controlled by this stupid watch. And so that's what got me into trail running. I had a buddy a few months later that said, man, you should just run trails, because you don't care about your watch as much. It's, you're out in the scenery and going up mountains and jumping over logs and dodging branches. And I was like, So I did a 10K trail run, fell in love, eventually led up to where I wonder what a 50K would be like. That's a 31 miler. And you know how they always talk about the wall in marathon training, at mile 20 or whatever, you're going to hit the wall. Well, it's like, if I train for a 31 miler, will the wall be different? And inevitably that led, like, I wonder what a 50 miler would look like. I wonder what a 100 miler would look like. And so that's where I've really just fallen in love with these. And
wait, you've done a 100 miler?
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah, I did my most recent one last year. I've done a number of them over the years. The one I did last year was called the Oregon Cascades 100, from Bend, Oregon in the Cascade Mountains. And it was point to point, Chris. So you start in Bend, Oregon, this beautiful place in the mountains, and you do these winding through the mountains, 102 miles, and you end in Sisters, Oregon, and it's point to point. So you never retrace your steps.
Wow.
And so for 102 miles, you get to see all this beauty and scenery and learn about yourself and find your...
Oh, I have so many questions for you, man. All right. We're going to go deep into that, and then we'll get back on track with the other stuff. All right. What type of sustenance do you need on a run of that length, and how do you get it? And B, actually, this might be A, because I'm just curious, because I've run 2 marathons. I'm not a runner, but just like you, ran it to raise money for an organization. And I do want to get into that as well. Do you run with headphones or not?
I like it. Good question. I'll go with that one first. I actually have a goofy rule now. Anything less than an hour, or the first hour at least, no noise. I just want my breathing. So if I go out for a 40-minute run or a 3-hour run, usually at least the first half. So if I'm going for a Saturday 4-hour kind of training thing, at least the first 2 hours will just be total my own thoughts, my own energy, my own self-talk, my own you know, working on my, you know, and just that's a chance to kind of think and meditate and get creative and pray and etc. And then usually the second half, I'm, you know, maybe starting to get bored, so I'll throw a podcast in or an audio, you know, or some music. And then the last half hour, get the tunes rocking because I need some grit.
Push you across the finish line. I dig it. I dig it.
The legs
That's
are
cool.
heavy.
That's cool. It's
So
funny.
I throw the headphones in for the latter parts.
I'm always intrigued by asking runners that question because my Uncle Joe, who was a marathon runner in the early 80s. And I'm always like, oh, how did you figure out your routes and all that? He's like, well, I drove and then I figured out how many miles
Wow.
and then went home. And I remember he asked me, he's like, what do you do when you run? I was audiobooking it. And he's like, look, do me a favor. Next time I was in the middle of training for a marathon. Like next run, just take them off. Just report back on what happens. And oh my goodness, I fell in love with running with no headphones in.
Wow.
Like it was definitely one like everything that you just rattled off, where it's like a little bit of prayer, a little bit of shake off the day, like figure it out, whatever. I got to the point where like I could see things in front of me. I was like, figuring out problems at work. I'd have like a graph here, something here, and I was like, it is pretty nuts, man. Like beyond the runner's high, I think it's probably one of the more meditative exercises that you can do. There's something about the rhythm of your body, and like first thing you did was you went like breath, like to hear your breath and to like understand your breath and the tempo and all that. I think it's powerful.
Yeah, just to hear you talking about it is calming.
Yeah,
Like
right.
literally as you're talking, my shoulders drop. It
Yeah.
gets you into this state. We all know, oftentimes our state is more important than even our actual actions.
Yeah.
And it gets us in the right frame of mind. And that's like, I always feel like if there's a gift we could give to all humanity, obviously you can, and that's where you look at the Buddhist traditions, you look at a lot of these traditions where they were able to get stillness. And now it's harder than ever with all the noise. Even on an airplane flight, I'm flying out tomorrow morning and people think I'm accessible on every flight. I used to love flying because it's like, oh, I can turn everything off. No one thinks I'm going to reply. And now even on airplane flights, you got internet. Why aren't you replying?
Yeah. They
And it's
track
like,
you down, man. It's so true. It's funny.
leave me
It's like,
alone.
yeah, it's like they used to be the one spot. Isn't that kind of terrible?
So now the mountains, man, where I can get out and leave
Yeah,
the
they really
electronics
can't
behind.
get a hold of you. So what is that? Is that training different running trails comparatively to like just running on doing street running?
Oh, big time. Yeah. A lot of walking, a lot of hiking. People ask like,
Yeah.
it's, depending on someone's goals, I guess. I can't assume anyone else's goals, but for me, I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to get a trophy anymore. I'm just trying to, so for me, I don't necessarily care pace. I know my, my heart rate. I know variables like that. But yeah, it's a lot of power hiking. When I can run, I run, but when I'm hiking, and so you're training just time on feet, TOF. It's like time. And just to never stop moving, walk, crawl, run, whatever you got to do, you keep moving.
Love it.
And that's, if you've ever heard beware of the chair, like at the aid stations, get your food, get your calories and get moving. Like anytime you sit, boy, that's when your muscles, you're screwed.
Ron, I love that you said it, man. Cause I didn't know anything about running when I ran these marathons. And my only goal was like, don't stop. Cause I knew I was like, you can't give yourself that window. You're like, if I stopped, I was done. I was like, just keep going. So you touched on it a little bit, and I am curious about it. Like, how do you sustain? Like, what's the sustenance when you run 100 miles? And do you give yourself you can power hike this and not run it? Like, do you dial that back every once in a while? Like, how do you do that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that 102 miler that I was just talking about, Bend, Oregon, that took 29 hours, roughly 29 hours, so almost 30 hours. So you do the math. The pace is pretty pathetic. It's not an impressive pace by any means. Most of these things have a cutoff of 30 hours or, give or take, depending on how much elevation and how technical it is. So, I have GI issues, not to get too graphic with your listeners, but I have to really be careful with my and so I've made the mistake, too much sugar, too much sweets, too many carbs. And then gosh, 3, 4 hours later, man, my stomach is wrecked.
Do
So
they take care of that for you? Like, they must be prepared for that, or no? Or is it like,
well, so in that 102 miles, we had 13 aid stations. So it's quite a ways. You're thinking a number of hours between some of the aid stations. So you have a backpack on, you have a mini pack, and I've got all my, but I definitely carry a lot of dried fruit, a lot of beef, a lot of trail mix, a lot of salty stuff, in addition to sweets. So that way you just really listen to your body. Like, okay, I'm craving. It tells you the deficiencies.
interesting.
And so I'm not relying on the aid stations. The aid stations might have whatever, all the normal goos and bananas and all that stuff, but I'm going to bring my own food. And then my wife, was one of my wife and my parents helped do certain, some of the aid stations. And
Nice.
man, one time I had a burrito. I drank cold soup. I mean, yeah, you're getting, because the goal is to get 300 calories an hour.
Wow.
So you're really trying to get a lot of calories in that you can hold down and not throw up.
So funny. It's like, and part of the reason why I asked you that is I remember a million years ago, I read a book. I forget the guy's name. You'll probably know him. I want to say James Halpert. Maybe. That might be a mountain climber. But the opening section of the book is he's running at night and he orders a pizza.
Yeah.
He asks the delivery guy to just meet him at a cross street. And the guy's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, just meet me at the corner. And he takes the pizza and he just rolls the pizza and starts eating it as he's running. And the kid that delivered the pizza loses his mind. Thinks it's like the greatest thing he's ever seen. I was gonna say, you probably have the book somewhere on there.
I think there's a guy named Dean Karnazes. This is
that's the guy.
He talks about pizzas rolled up. I've heard.
Yeah.
Scott Jurek is really big into but isn't that funny? And it really,
that's nuts, man.
Blows your mind.
You're talking about a burrito. I could picture you just inhaling it, and then it's like your body just processes it. So funny.
And to your point earlier, you try to take it with you. So that delivery driver bringing the pizza, thanks. Like, he's not sitting to eat one slice at a time.
Which would be the funniest thing ever to watch. Like, to see you moving, eating a burrito. I'd pay money for that, Ron. It's like, it's hysterical. So, that's so good. Thanks for answering that question.
Yeah. I will tell you the one thing that I love about those, man, that just is so emotionally giving. I feel so uplifted. You see another human at 2 a.m. at an aid station, and their body is broken. Your body, but their mind. There's an old saying that says, "My body can handle just about anything. It's my mind I must convince." And that's what mind over matter is, right? Like that's the mental component of this kind of endurance. And it doesn't matter if you're into rowing or biking or whatever, but some sort of endurance efforts. It's neat because the mental, obviously you have to have the physical strength and whatnot, but all your listeners have heard of a second wind. Well, there's a 30th wind. There's a 50th wind. Like, your body keeps bouncing back if your mind leads it.
I agree wholeheartedly, man. I love that. I think that's such an important lesson, especially for kids. It's like one of those things where you can talk yourself into or out of everything, right? And it can be profound when you're doing something in athletic endeavor. As my second marathon, I injured myself. I got shin splints, which sounds ridiculous, but if you've experienced shin splints, you know how it's debilitating. Yep. And I just did CrossFit for the last 2 months of training. Didn't run at all, and then ran the marathon because I knew, I was like, that hurt. I need to rest. I can't push through this and continue. Like, I won't be able to finish the marathon. And that was I was like, look, just don't stop. You can run a 10-minute mile. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Just don't stop. Just keep going. And it was fine because it was just like, I decided. It's like, what's his name? Andrew Huberman. Then is he a neurologist?
Yeah.
I think Huberman is a neurologist. He said, our brains like non-negotiables. That if you just commit to something and you're like, this is done, you don't give it the window of like, well, maybe if I walk for 2 miles or whatever, you can get away with it. which kind of a good segue into my next question for you is, I think a lot of people interpret discipline for when I hear discipline, they think of like I'm being disciplined, like I'm being punished. Like this is a bad thing. Like, but when you have discipline like yourself in order to train to go 100 miles on, like that's just insane. Can you talk to all of us about how discipline creates freedom
Hmm. Yeah.
rather than, what everybody thinks it is rather than restriction?
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, I sure will. And the first thing I'll say is none of us are perfect at it. Like we all have, I lack willpower just like every other human. So, but find your little victories matter and our self-talk matters. So, be careful with our words, right? We are our beliefs. So that's where, let's say this afternoon, I eat, I grab another cup of coffee and it's like, I've said I wasn't going to drink so much caffeine, or I don't make as many outbound sales calls as I said I was going to, or man, I'm not going to beat myself up on that. I'm going to find the things I did right, take stock tonight, audit what went well. Okay, unemotionally, what do I need to adjust for Monday so that I can make some adjustments? I'm going to meal plan, not as much caffeine around, whatever I need to do to adjust. But my point is I hear so many humans just say the crap, like I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I'm so undisciplined. I could never run like that. I'm not disciplined like that. I'm not good with money. I'm not a morning person. I'm not good with this. I'm not good. I'm not a speaker. I'm not. Well, number one, quit saying that.
Yeah.
Like I for years, I used to say I was terrible with money, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful I had a friend that said, "Why do you say that?" Like, and they challenged me on it, and I was like, "Yeah, it's true." In the past, I haven't been as good with money, but I'm getting better with it. Like, reframe our talk. Yeah, there's been seasons where I'm not the most disciplined cat around, but I'm getting better. And so if every listener could find little victories, but to your point, discipline equals freedom. Man, I'm taking my daughter to Disneyland tomorrow morning, and we're not coming back till Monday night. And just the freedom to me, that word freedom, this is just today's example, like our flight tomorrow morning. Freedom is everything, right? We live this one life. So to be able to make the choices, to be able to give to the nonprofits we care about, the things we believe in, to be able to do the types of, that's part of what we love about our country, right? It's freedom. And so the discipline to eat, maybe if I eat a little better foods, I in my 2 drawers right here, I have my snacks, my snack drawers.
Love it. So
There's no candy in there.
so you're even disciplined with your snacking.
It's organic beef and it's dried mangoes and it's,
I'm stealing that idea. I got to put snacks in here that are healthy snacks so I don't go looking at the bad snacks. I love that, man.
Just something little. So in the middle of the day when I'm like, oh, I only have a 4-minute gap, I'll grab 2 mangoes or grab half a protein bar or something just to.
Right. Instead of eating some sort of junk and then feeling like junk after that junk processes through your body. Yeah.
We started on that note real quick. At night is when most people's willpower goes way down, right? After 7, I'm going to drink more. I'm going to eat more crap. I'm going to scroll more. I'm going to stream more. I'm going to, you can have a good day and then ruin it with that last hour or 2. So for me, I'm human like everyone. So after 7 or 8 is when I would make the poorest choices, and I've had to work to shift. Finally, I was like, instead of grabbing another alcoholic drink and some more chips, what if I get some milk? And my wife loves to bake. She makes these great protein balls, like almost like just peanut butter, flax.
That's awesome. Yeah, little peanut butter in them, and she puts like Rice Krispie treats, crunchy.
It feels like a healthy. It feels like kind of a decadent dessert.
Yeah.
And then even then, about a couple months later, I was like, okay, I'm having milk and these protein balls. And I looked at the ingredients. Even the organic milk I get at Costco, oat milk, almond milk, whatever, it's still full of gums and kind of processed stuff. Yeah. So I bought my own milk maker. I bought a thing where now I make cashew coconut milk and all my own almond milk and you make it with dates, you make it with, so now it's pure. Now I'm having pure food after 8 at night. So just an example of an adjustment.
Tell me about the milk maker. I've never heard of that. So what do you do? That's
Well,
amazing.
you
Talk
can
about a curveball, Ron. Was not expecting to cover that on the podcast today.
I have to be aware of the way I say this. I make my own milk. People are like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a little weird.
It's like,
I make my own vegan milk. Let me put it
yeah,
that way.
you're going to get a lot of trouble. Yeah. All right. Explain the milk maker.
I just Googled it, how can I make my own milk? And one of the things that popped up, I did some research on a few of them. There's one called the Almond Cow. So you can do the Almond Cow. And I tell you what, you can go on their website. They have hundreds of recipes.
Nice.
Pumpkin this, ginger that.
Like
and it's all nuts.
healthy.
It's all made from
organic.
seeds or flax or almonds or cashews, or you can make, it's all made, but it all comes out in a milk. And of course you can make it thicker or thinner or however you want it.
Yeah.
But it's just a healthy treat, if you will.
I love that. I love it, man. That's so cool. So you're obviously very self-disciplined, exceptionally self-disciplined. In your 50s, you look like you're 30. I'm sure your athletic ability is probably like a 20-year-old. What do you find, at Southwestern and your consulting, not everybody you encounter is going to be, a type A Ron, right? What's more difficult for you to coach? Is it gaps in skill set or gaps in mindset?
I like it. I like the question. Me personally, gaps in skill set. Our methodology is a lot of times I'm not the coach. If I go do a presentation for team tomorrow, they get 2 or 5 or 10 or how many people into coaching, I'm going to match each of them with their coach. So based on personality, someone might say, hey, I'd also like a younger mom that's my coach, or I'd like someone that's wired with this type of personality. So we have a process of how to match someone with their coach.
That's cool.
But I would say the skill set. If someone has the right attitude, the right mentality, we can do anything. And I'll take someone every day of the week but if they have all the skills in the world, but their ego and their arrogance and their resistant to, the mindset is off, it's so much tougher.
So do you find, is that like the most common block for people that you're working with? It's just, this is the way I'm working. I'm not going to change. That's completely it. How do you turn those people into high performers? How do you break that? Do you break them down, build them back up? Like, what's the Southwestern consulting process? Starting with, I love the fact that you match people with coaches that map to them. And I think that's a differentiating factor for you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think really, first of all, it's getting clear on what we want. Like what actually do we want in this life, in this business, and then having someone that cares to explore, why does it matter? Like, okay, you want to go from making 250K to making 300K or 80K to making 120K or whatever. Why does that really deep down inside? What's the emotion behind that goal? So that when the storms hit, because we know they always do, how will you endure? How will you persist? How will you overcome? Right? If someone has a strong enough why, they'll figure out the how. So we want to get clear on the what, get deep enough, not surface level, on the why with someone. And then let's go. Now we can work on the how.
Love it.
Okay, the marketing, the business planning, the sales psychology, better language, prospecting up, how we get referrals, warmer this, shorting the sales cycles. But if we're not clear on the what and the why, the how is just a bunch of Band-Aid crap that doesn't last. It's not sustainable. And we're not about 30-day fixes. We're not about lose 2 pounds by Monday. This is a lifestyle. We partner with people that really want sustainable change.
Interesting.
So that's where
Ron, is your bread and butter like this, like the one-on-one stuff, or is it like workshopping or is it a mixture of both?
Yeah. One our niche has been one-on-one. So to answer, whether it's someone that's running a company, small, medium, whatever size business, or someone that just started in sales or operations or a young leader or whatever. A lot of times the way we'll meet a team initially is we'll do a workshop. We'll do a training event. We'll do a 90-minute kind of test drive. And that way they really can feel, and then the leader, the owner, or the salespeople will decide if they're going to opt into the coaching or not. Depending on the industry, sometimes it's then self-supported. The salesperson is going to pay 100% of their own, investment. Other times the leader might say, hey, I'll pay for it for these people, or I'll pay half. I want them to have skin in the game, or it'll vary depending on the industry and on the company.
That's cool. I love that. So my next question is, I might already have the answer to this question, but you tell me whether I do or not. I was going to ask you, what is the most important word that you ask executives to get to, the sort of transformational stuff? Is it the why? Like figuring out their why? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, alignment, if I had to say one word, is the why aligned with the calendar? So you tell me you want to be a great dad, parent, husband, fitness, spiritual life, philanthropic life, leader, business, etc. Show me your calendar. And not just the calendar plan, like we call it an ideal week plan before the week. So my intentions of what Monday or next week's going to look like, but then let's track the actual. The plan is one thing, but then what did you actually do? Because it blows people's minds. Even the most successful people are blown away when they do a time awareness log. So for the next week, I'm going to track every 15 minutes. So, 3-4 times a day, I'm going to kind of look back at the last 3 hours and think, what did I actually do? And then have an outside, unbiased person. I'm too biased to do it for myself. I need an outside, someone that can kind of peek behind the curtain and help kind of, here was your plan, here was your actual. So you said, here's your vision. There's my vision board. I want to be all these things in my life. Is my calendar aligned with that vision?
And you find it's so interesting too, because as you were saying it, I was like, oh yeah, I could see that. But then I'm like, oh, it's got to be exhausting tracking what you actually do, right? It's like, oh, there you go, already lost it. It's like,
we prep people though. We say, are you willing to, we don't need to do this for months.
Yeah.
For a week, maybe 2. And then every now and then, a year later, we'll go back and do another week. Sometimes we have clients.
And they're typically like you're saying, they're typically just completely off the mark. Like what they think they're doing, they're not really doing.
It blows people's minds. It's almost like now how your iPhone will tell you how much screen. If people have never looked how much screen time they have them guess.
No idea. Yeah.
It blows people's minds. Like, are you kidding me? And so there's usually a little nugget or two with that time awareness log that people are able to take, and then it's like, wow, there's some good growth that happens from that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really compelling, and it must be like, it's got to be a little painful, right? And it's also a step in the right direction to kind of crush that ego and be like, I know you thought you didn't need us, however, you can't handle this one alone.
How we look at it, right? It's the old glass half full or empty. It's painful and fun at the same time. Hopefully. Growth is not meant to be easy. There's a reason why the word is extraordinary, right? Like, not to get too deep into this, but just average is average. Like, so we have to have something within us that says, I don't want to be that average. How many people have gone to a funeral recently or a celebration of life where to me, those are gripping. It's haunting to me to go to a funeral and not somehow think, what is mine going to look like? Man, I want my kids to be proud of their dad. I want and so I think trying to get deep into those reasons, then it's fun to work on myself. It's not as painful, hopefully.
Yeah. Because you're helping yourself when you're working.
Got it. Exactly. And who amongst us doesn't care about our family, our employees, our coworkers, our colleagues, if I'm better, man, all the people around me, I get to be a little better for all the people I care about. So suddenly the ego kind of melts away, and it's the pride diminishes.
Ron, this is up to you whether you want to get into this, but in our first conversation, we bonded over running on behalf of nonprofits, and you mentioned LLS, and they were a client of mine for a bunch of years. Love and adore all the work that they do. My 2 marathons were on behalf of the ALS Association. Can you talk to us a little bit about your connection with LLS and why you were doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to, Chris. And I think it was, how could I not? Like, it was meant to be, where you and I got connected and suddenly we had no idea we have this thing in common. So I think everyone believes things happen for a reason. These are not coincidental things. All years ago, I talked about the Leukemia Lymphoma Society fundraiser where I did that triathlon. And I remember feeling a little like, I remember a lot of people I trained with had a really strong cause. Their parent, their spouse, their child, and I remember like, I don't know anyone with this. What's a blood cancer? I'm just wanted to do a fun triathlon.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was very evident my motives were not very good.
Right.
Man, years later, in 2016, one of my 7-year-old twins got diagnosed with leukemia. And as at the time, single dad, I just was a single dad with these two twins. It was such an eerie thing. Obviously, number one, just like, okay, what is his life going to look like, and our lives going to look like now? But also having this memory of like leukemia. 15 years earlier, I did this fundraiser for leukemia, and I remember feeling like a fraud, acting like I'm raising money for something that I don't even have any tie to. I wasn't ultra convicted in it. And it's just, to me, all those years later, it was like, wow, it was very full circle.
Yeah.
And it gave us a lot of purpose going through it. Like, obviously you have the normal, why me? We had plenty of anger and sadness and all the emotions that come with it. But then it did give us a little bit of a kick of like, okay, man, there's a reason behind this. There's going to be some impact that comes from this. So it helped a lot.
And the outcome of that diagnosis?
He's good, man. Yeah. 4.5 years later, rang the bell at Seattle Children's. So he was 7 when he was diagnosed, was almost 12 when he rang the bell. And he's now 16, high school kid playing high school basketball, and has plenty of, he's almost a foot shorter than his twin brother. So he's got plenty of developmental things that he's, a little stunted with. Most of them are more emotional than physical. But man, he's a healthy boy and he's living life, and it's just like, yeah, when you go back and see the pictures from the first couple of years of what chemo and all the drugs that, he's doing well.
That's wonderful. And you were going through that as a single father. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that.
Single dad, and was actually the latter parts got engaged to now I've been married to Desiree for 10 years and have adopted her daughter. We're a blended family.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So she was through it the whole way. At the time we were dating, and then after he was diagnosed, we got engaged and married, and so she was through it the whole way with me.
Was the natural mother in the picture, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Love her. Appreciate her a ton. Thankfully, we have a really good respect and relationship. We live like 15 minutes apart. And so she was very much involved as well. We were both right there.
You mentioned that he has some psychological stuff to it. How does your training help him get through that? Do you find yourself kind of like, oh, these are the same core principles that I'm talking to adults with that I'm going to instill in my son?
You got it. It is eerie. And I know I'm talking to you. You're a dad of similar aged. I think one of your daughters is a little older than mine, but point is it's eerie how human challenges, obstacles, let's call them, don't ever change, man. I got to get out of my own way, first of all. And we're always trying to work on, emotional intelligence. And then as far as skills or systems or motivation or whatever, and it doesn't matter if it's our high school kids, our biological children, or if I had a coaching call this morning with a CEO of a mine repair company. Mining, they do mine, and massive company. They got over 2,000 employees. He's the CEO and incredible guy. A lot of his challenges are no different than my daughter's or my son's.
Crazy, right? Isn't that nuts?
Being intentional with our time, following through with our time, not getting rattled, not getting, how does authentic confidence show up versus false confidence or conditional confidence, or, a lot of those kind of similar things. Now, obviously he's going through mergers and acquisitions and you know,
The
other
kids
level.
are having friend groups and new friend groups and old friend groups, kind of the same
Right.
thing, man.
Little different, but similar.
Well, look, you know, we joked about it at first, but I'm like, my little one. So my girls, they're a senior and a freshman, and my freshman plays varsity basketball, and I'm like, I'm not a basketball player. I'm 5'9" Italian guy. I have no idea. The only thing that I've been able to help her with is the mindset. And yesterday, they were kind of moving a little slow, and the whole stands were laughing over this one. And I was like, Olivia, flip the on switch now. And when I tell you, she had the ball, pulled back, and hit a 3-pointer, and the crowd was
Really?
laughing because they were just like, "Was that all it took? Was that all? Was that it?" And it was just like mind shift. Like sometimes you need a little nudge in the right direction, right?
Exactly.
It's one
And
of
we
those
all
things.
do. That's
Yeah,
such a cool story, man. That's really
yeah, it was the
neat.
greatest thing, man. So I want to talk to you a little bit about sales. We're both salespeople, right? And sales sometimes gets a bad rap and gets framed as like persuasion, or it feels slimy, and we all picture like the used car salesman. How do you all at Southwestern Consulting frame sales that makes it a little bit more palatable?
Yeah. No, thank you. There's actually one of the books we wrote. It's called Servant Selling, and it really begins with the heart of, number one, abundance. So do I believe when I feel scarcity, that's when commission breath comes out. That's when
Mission breath. I love, dude. I love that.
uh,
Right? Is that a trademark term? What is that? I've never heard commission
it's just,
breath.
yeah, maybe it is. It's but all the negative connotations you spoke to,
Yeah.
and it's a selling atmosphere. We think of a buying atmosphere. So imagine I'm meeting you, and it's just, man, Chris, we need to understand what your vision is and what you're looking for, and just so the more I can listen and understand. Of course, curiosity is our favorite word. Genuine curiosity. The person that's talking the least is making the biggest impact, right? So the more I can ask great questions and just listen to understand, not listen to have some witty response. And then when it is time to speak, you're a sniper, right? You're not just spraying words. Like most salespeople, we talk too much. So listening like you've never listened before, really understanding. Then when it's time to speak, being able to share a story or words that really land. And that's where the buying atmosphere a lot of times is like, man, Chris, if you're okay, maybe I can kind of walk you through a little bit of what we do. And if this is a fit, awesome. It would be fun to partner. If it's not a fit, no big deal. We'll keep it really laid back. And so you create this atmosphere where people realize right up front, this guy's not going to pitch me. This is not some hard close. This is just, it's going to make sense or it's not. No big deal.
Yeah.
And it,
Right. Yeah.
once I have emotional permission to say no, I feel that much freer to say yes. And we find you get a lot of people that say yes quicker, and it shortens the sales cycle versus having all these maybes where I got to follow up forever and nag them and all the weird, awkward crap that comes with sales.
Pack that, because that was good. Like the emotional safety to say no will sort of reveal a yes. That's what it unpack that a little bit.
Okay. So it's rooted in trust.
Yeah.
When we feel safe with a relationship, your daughter, I would imagine, she's vulnerable around you because she knows you have her best interest. And I got chills talking about this because we just care so much about our kids and people. When there's a safe relationship where trust is built, people are more transparent. They're more open to talking about things. Now we can be real talk, not the weird one-liners and all the little gimmicky crap. So that's the first step, is trying to establish some trust, and then it's just a very genuine share and that's what I talked about with abundance, where I don't feel like this sale is going to make or break my year. That's a belief system thing. If I go into it like I need this sale to hit quota, to beat Johnny across town on the leaderboard, or some sort of, like, that's when I'm going to oversell and it comes across as too salesy.
Yeah.
But when I've got this attitude of like, man, I got a good life, I'm gonna have a great year, whether this person buys or not. So that goes back to my morning routine, drinking my milk the night before,
I
waking
love
up the next morning, time with my dog, getting fresh air, visualizing the day, praying, meditating. All those things are not on accident. Now at 1 in the afternoon, when I'm with this prospect that I really believe I can help, and I really hope we can do business with them, it's not going to come across salesy.
beautiful. And is that what you it's funny because I have a question where I was like, how do you teach authenticity? Is this that's what you do, right? Like you're teaching people to get into that frame of mind and to be authentic in that way. I think. Is there
So
more to that?
sometimes it's with some clients, it's a pain point. They don't come across as it sounds very scripted, very canned, very. We believe in scripting when it sounds unscripted.
Yeah.
When you can land it as though it's conversational and very genuine, but still have a script that you're kind of an outline you're following. So that's a lot of what we'll work with people on is the right language, the right role playing, the right scripting. I mean, my wife and I have conflict management scripting from our, like when we go through conflicts.
Well, I
But
love
if
that.
you can do it where it's calmer, it lands more.
Huh. It's beautiful. It's like I used to tell my teams, I'm like, it's we have a compass, not a map. As long as you know that you're going in that direction,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. But you got to know the direction you're going in, because everybody. We used to do demos. You know, I've sold software for a lot of years. When you're selling software, you've got to demonstrate the product. And my sales team would get obsessed with, I got to say this first and that first and the other thing for. I'm like, look, if you just know the destination, if you know the outcome of what we're trying to do with the software on behalf of the client, you'll be fine. Stop trying to follow the map. You're going to get lost. Follow the map. Just look at the compass. Stay in that direction. And it's similar. It's a tough thing to do though as a salesperson, right? Like people that get anxious and you know have that monetary thing barking in the back of their head. It's a tough switch to flip, right?
It is, and that's where you do have compassion for when someone's like a single parent and they can't pay the bills and they really need this paycheck, and it's your heart does go out because you realize it's not easy if you're wired a little more with overthinking or analyzing, or you are in a situation where there's financial need, or it's that's why again we have to kind of begin with the thoughts kind of calming. How do we get the head right and the heart right first, then the language, then the script, the skills, the sales talk, the sales process, all that kind of stuff. But I do think if there's one thing for every listener on here that I think is across the board, asking better questions, listening more. Right when I think I've listened, and then a lot of times, let's say they've shared, hey, tell me more about your vision, or what kind of software are you using now, or what kind of whatever the sale is, right? Whatever the product or service or idea is you're selling. And then right when they've shared, maybe one thing is just, hey, Chris, is it okay if I just repeat back what I heard you say?
I love that.
Obviously, I've taken notes for the last 10 minutes. So you guys are rocking with this and this and this. Sounds like this is going well. Man, your vision is this. And from what I heard you say, this is a little bit of the gap. And when someone hears you repeat back what they said, it's eerie, like how much it hits them. A lot of times they're just talking. But if you can really capture what they said back to them, you suddenly just had a jump in trust. Number one, they realize you're a great listener. You're really customizing this and listening incredibly well. And number two, now there's so much, it just kind of heightens the pain, if you will. We know when pain is at the surface, they're more likely to take action.
Love everything you're saying. What do you? I'm curious. Like, what do you think organizations do wrong when it comes to developing leaders?
Not give them enough coaching. I love the question. In all honesty, I think it's hard to just say one, but I know one mistake I've made is just taking salespeople that are gifted salespeople and just thinking they're going to be great leaders. The Michael Jordan effect that, well, gosh, the guy scored 30 points and won, every game and won 6 championships. And of course he's going to be a great owner. Not everybody's wired to. So making assumptions, that's probably number one.
Yeah. No, I love that. Trying to figure out, like, how do you determine, like, the difference between, I'm going to go back to a word you used in the very beginning that I love, which is purpose. And how do you help, especially younger people, sort of separate purpose from achievement? And how do you reconcile the two? Because we're in such like a culture where it's like, I want to achieve this, post it on social media. I want to achieve this. I want to get a promotion. I want to achieve this and hit that checkbox. But like, how do you convince young people that you're coaching that they've really got to have a purpose? They've really got to be able to do that. And then everything else kind of falls into place. I feel like that would be a really tough conversation to have.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm being ageist by saying young people. I feel like people, right? Like
Yeah, good catch. I do too. I think it is, of course, young people, but even those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond.
yeah.
It's such a trap of we are our identities and our self images.
Mm.
So it's such an emotional thing for me when I had back issues this summer because my identity as a runner was taken away. And therefore I suffered greater. It wasn't just the back pain, but it was that, oh, how's your running going? Oh, I haven't been able to, and it's that was my way to decompress and cope. And so learning how to tie our self-image and our to things that are more healthy controllables, if you will. Zig Ziglar, remember his name?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Zig used to always say, a human cannot act in a manner that is inconsistent with their self-image. So you can try, you can fake it, you can be fake, you can do short-term band-aids and manipulated crap, but your self-image is everything. So we're constantly rewiring. I love generosity. I'm a man who follows through. I believe in others. I'm patient with others. I don't critique others. I believe in example. I believe in being, I love to listen before I speak. Those are examples of affirmations. Call them truths, call it self-talk, call it whatever the heck you want to call it. But that self-talk leads to my self-image. If my self-image is off, the way I act and behave, of course, will be off, and the results that I get will be off. So it all, to me, the foundation is the self-talk that leads to the self-image.
Ron, I think that's profound. I think too, when you mention the mantras, that's really profound because I think even those of us who are striving for self-improvement and sharpening our axe and getting better at our craft, it's rare that we address the sort of subconscious level preconceived ideas about ourselves. And it's the second time it came up, right? Earlier, we were talking, oh, I hate when somebody says I'm bad with money or I'm whatever.
Yes.
And the mantras that you just rattled off, I think they're really unique mantras that people don't even think about saying to themselves because we're so locked in that and rigid in like, oh yeah, I'm always late or I never follow through or because they're thinking about the one time it happened and it was embarrassing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not. So I don't even know if I have a question. I just love that. Like I
Yeah.
love that you even said anything like that because I think we miss it, right? Like we don't ever. It's always about like I'm gonna get better at this. I'm gonna do whatever. And it's just changing the no, I am good with money. And then, yeah,
Exactly.
it's crazy.
It's
So
it's slowing down. Every listener's heard the old adage, it's slowing down to speed up. I just think sometimes we're so rushed from thing to thing to thing to thing, maybe building little white space in our calendars. That's one thing we work on with clients is like building 5 or 10 minutes between all these appointments. Yeah, you want to have a full calendar and anybody that's growing a business is going to be busy. But sometimes take that minute to breathe, audit, prepare, slow down a little bit because words matter. The way I articulate a word matters. Now, of course, to my prospect, my language toward that, my employee, my assistant, my prospect, that other human, but my words toward myself matter even more. How I speak to myself about myself, how I speak to others about myself. And a lot of times people have this self-deprecating humor, like, "Oh, dude, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the worst with." It's not funny. Like, it's actually jacking up a lot of people's lives.
I think it's so important, man. And I think, yeah, jacking up people's lives because it's just like it ends up being, it reinforces this subconscious anxiety and angst and the sort of, it's almost like it fuels the imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you and I are buddies and we go to, CrossFit together, work out on Monday, I'll see you and I'll say, "Oh, Chris, how was your weekend? How you been? How are things going, man? How was your holiday season?" That's very normal between two humans. Just how we respond. Like sometimes, like, "Oh, dude, I've been stressed," or, "Man, I'm this, I'm so busy." Like that's a big one, right? I don't have time for that. Like very common things you hear so many people say. Stop saying that. You do have time. You have all the time in the world. You just made some damn choices that, so that's a first example is, and then maybe taking a minute. Like if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm feeling good, man. I'm actually I feel like I've been pretty on point this week. I've been following through on things that matter most. Being very not long-winded, right? Brevity is important,
Yeah.
but having a way you capture something and you weave in a belief that is going to help you grow as a human.
Such good advice. I love that, man. That's a shoot. That's the, if that's the one thing people walk away from getting from you, that's a big one. That's beautiful. So you've worked with a lot of people over the years, right? Like, and you've impacted a lot of people. What do you? I don't know. I don't want to get too cheesy about it, but like, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you know when you're thinking about your journey? What do you think is going to matter the most when people are talking about Ron being like, "Oh yeah, that guy that I worked with from Southwest Consulting."
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I like it. I don't think it's cheesy at all, man. If anybody thinks it's cheesy, it's like that's an important question.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be in those later days looking back at our life and saying, "I wish I would have been paid more attention to my impact or my legacy," or um, just genuine. I am who I am. I don't want to fake. I can't try to be something I'm not. I want to be comfortable in my skin, and I hope people will look at me as a person that just was truly who he was. He wasn't trying to act like something, uh, but just cared deeply. I care a lot, and I don't, obviously my. And then the last thing I'd say is that my priorities are in line. I care about my faith with my Creator, number one, and then I care about my wife and my kids, and obviously my community and my. So that's probably the main thing is just come from my own skin, trying to be very genuine and authentic, and then someone that cared deeply.
Love it.
Now, I will say that can be a weakness as well. When you care too much, it's a flaw, and I'm very aware that that is not always a great trait of mine.
Uh,
Is caring. You can take it both ways.
I had two questions that I think I'm going to combine. Where because we're both in our 50s, I'm always curious about, what do you say to executives that are hell bent against, like, I can't reinvent, the sort of old dog new tricks type of thing, and do you coach uh over 50 executives differently? I'm sure there's some sort of wrinkle involved in that. And for you, moving forward, what does success look like for you as you get into your mid to late 50s and early 60s?
Yeah, I like that. It's a lot of people in their exit strategy. They're in that 3 to 5 years. They're maybe trying to sell their company or you know save enough for a comfortable retirement or whatever someone's goals are. Um, I think a lot of it is we all have been duped to just pay bills until we retire, to think that's the finish line, right? Like there's some finish line, and now that I'm 61 or 70 or whatever, well, now my health is not that great. I'm so it's just like, man, number one, soaking up the moment, living in the moment, but helping people have that end goal. A lot of people are hard charging, and then suddenly my dad was military 40 something years, suddenly retired, miserable.
Yeah.
His identity was
Purpose,
gone.
purpose, right? You
Exactly.
extract purpose from the equation.
What hobbies, what philanthropic endeavors, what we think of it as significance season versus kind of, success is, the home, the travel, the vacations, the freedom. My kids are going to a good school. All those success things. That's nothing wrong with any of those things. Inevitably, there comes a point when significance matters more than success. Like, what am I living? What do I want my life to look like?
I love that you just said, I love significance season. That's awesome. Like,
Yeah, and it doesn't just start at some, but might look different for each human. But that's the thing is like, while I'm still working, I don't want my identity to just be my LinkedIn profile, right? Oh, you're a VP of this, or you're a manager of that. Yeah, that's one of my roles, but I also play the guitar and teach a Sunday school class on Sundays. And, I'm involved in this nonprofit. I'm on the board of this thing. And, so that way, that's the one big thing we work with people on later in their careers is broadening their identity. Not that they're just that sales guy, CEO, whatever, but you're all the different things. So that way, when they do, that job does shift, or they sell the business, they move on, they retire from that job, dude, that's only 10% of the pie. It's not like 80% of the pie.
I love it. It's a tough thing to follow through, especially, our generation, I think. But it's funny. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was talking about this podcast, and part of that is for me, part of the podcast is that for me is this season of significance. I love that. I'm going to use it. And I said, it's me going from Chris Dessy to Chris Dessett. Like that's the best way that I could sum it up. Right. Like just chill out with the, the look at me stuff.
Wow, that's cool, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, it's working, man. The
Yeah.
impression I've had of you and the interactions we've had, you really do come across
Thanks,
as
man.
such
I
a
appreciate
genuine,
it.
calm, relaxed. I'm thankful I didn't know that former version.
I was gonna say he was an asshole. Trust me.
That's awesome.
I know there's a lot of people listening that are like, "Oh yeah, you're a total asshole."
I know that version of Chris.
Well, look, if somebody is listening and they feel stuck or maybe disconnected or maybe a little lost, what's the first small step that you'd suggest for them to kind of crack out of that?
Yeah. Number one, crush pride. Pride makes us think we could do it alone, especially the men. If it is to be, it's up to me. I got this. There's just such this bravado that we're raised with. And I'm, as a military kid, and, I was raised with grit, suck it up, figure it out, find a way. I believe in all those things. There's a time and place for all that. And be humble enough to lean on our other people. And so that I would say layers of accountability. I have my CEO Henry, I have my wife Desiree, I have my own business coach, but I have a couple peers. Like getting some people in our life that can, like I said, we're going to another marriage conference in March that we love to learn to be better in our marriage. I've had different business coaches, so just not being so egotistical or prideful to think we should do it alone.
Dude, I love that just came to you. You just like crushed pride. Cause I feel like I needed you a year and a half ago. Cause it is a thing, right? Like, especially dudes, I think, where it's like, I got it. I got it.
Yep.
Got it. And then the second I started reaching out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where rewiring beliefs is. It's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed of, or like, I love telling my kids that I'm investing in people to help. There's this impression, like as their dad, I want them to think their dad knows everything. I'm their hero. No, I'm a goofball, man. I'm a guy that has challenges just like every other guy, but your dad is vulnerable and he's honest and he loves investing in his own growth. And I'm not going to try to have some bravado fake version of me so that's probably the biggest thing I'd say. And whether for some people it's therapy or counseling, for others it is more of a business coach mentorship kind of thing. I don't know, to each their own.
Great answers. Ron, I think we'll wrap up on that one because that was beautiful. How can people get in touch with you and Southwestern Consulting?
Yeah. LinkedIn is fine. My name, just Ron Alford on LinkedIn, only one in Seattle, I think. So you'll see that. Redefiningpossible.com will go right to the website, and that's the book I did. It's called Redefining Possible. So just one word, Redefining Possible. That's it. Those are the easiest ways.
What are the core tenets of the book? It's like, give us a little bit of that. Like,
Yeah.
what do people expect when they buy the book?
So if you look up the book, and whether you buy it or not, it's the whole space of it is that impact is everything. Again, we all have had loved ones go through terminal conditions. We've all been to funerals. We've all been to where at the end, you're not thinking about your bank account or how many homes or cars, or you're thinking about the lives you touched, the memories you made and had. And so it's all about impact. So if we truly believe that impact is wealth, how do we exponentially multiply our impact? That's what the whole book's about. So it goes through kind of 6 phases of how to multiply your impact. One is having a deeper focus. We talk about how to eliminate distractions, taking ownership, what it looks like to take full responsibility of our lives, clarifying our vision. The endurance I have in life is tied directly to the clarity of my vision. So getting our vision crystal clear. Our beliefs, we've talked about belief systems, our confidence, and then our faith. So those 6 things: focus, ownership, vision, beliefs, confidence, faith, we unpack and dig in on, and strategies of each to help us multiply impact.
Wow. You're a special dude. Very, very cool, man. You're doing God's work.
Thanks. Thanks
It
for
really
saying
is. It really is. I think on the surface, it looks like business stuff. You're doing life stuff, man. And I think that's very, very cool. I thank you for being on the podcast. I'll let you know when we put it up, but this was awesome, man. Like you've exceeded my expectations. It was pure joy learning from you and talking to you. And this is absolutely great. And I'm going to look forward to watching you continue to have positive impact on people's lives. I'm thrilled to hear that your son as well. And I hope you have a great time with your daughter in Disney.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to hear your daughter's news that you're going to get today.
I know. Bite our fingernails.
So, hey, I will say real quick, just really thankful our paths have crossed, man. If I get to be anywhere near Poughkeepsie,
Yeah.
you're anywhere near Seattle, you got to get to break bread or hang out together, man. I'd love that. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching the Quantum Shift podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and share. Thanks so much.